It's a great opportunity to help solve an age-old problem that has been on in this dear nation of ours for quite some time. There are many, many people with great capacity and with the desire to improve their education. And usually the place where that falls down is when they get into the tertiary space. At that point, they really have a number of options, either to go into the world of work with qualifications that are not necessarily optimal for them, or to find ways of funding that tertiary space. Now, when I say tertiary, some of it is academic, so university education is generally regarded as academic, but this program seeks to provide opportunities for Nigerian students who want to go onto the academic side and get a university degree, or perhaps want to go onto the technical side and go and get and acquire some vocational skills and some vocational qualifications, which is always needed in society, and also in the teacher training space, because without teachers, really none of us are going very far. We have to learn from others, and we have to have those who teach us formally. So this is a great opportunity for that applicant, and they are the ones at the center of all of this. This act, effectively, the intention behind it is to ensure that the reason for not being able to go on and further your education at the tertiary level is not for the lack of finance. This act, this law seeks to bridge the gap between desire to study and capacity to go further. It seeks to bridge that gap if the gap is one that is created by lack of finance, lack of funding. This intervention will affect the lives of many, many Nigerian youth, because that's usually the bracket that want to further their education. It will impact the lives of many, many Nigerian families, because the onus to pay for education tends to fall on parents or on families. Well, this act is going to enable us to intervene and support families, particularly those at the needy end. This act will affect the way society in itself operates and functions. And to give you a very small example, some people have very tight choices between whether they go on to study further and get the opportunity to get a white-collar job, for example, or they go into a blue-collar environment where they have to work with their bodies and their hands, which, if you enjoy doing that, it's great. Some people do, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. Society needs it, but it's only wrong when you don't want to and you are forced to because you are lacking in finances. And this particular scheme seeks to help those who want to go in the right direction, go in the right direction. There are many difficult choices people make. People sometimes will have to go and do things they really don't want to do, including crossing, the very treacherous and dangerous Sahel to try and get themselves to Europe because they haven't been able to get the education they want here. So, we are setting this up to help us and help our society bridge that gap. What I want to say to you is that this has been done with a lot of thought. So in application and in applying for this loan, there is zero human intervention. In other words, there is an app. The applicant will go onto a portal. They will engage with that app. They will have to put in certain pieces of information which make them eligible. One is their JAMB number, and of course, to tie in to that, their date of birth. Further pieces of information include things like their national identity number, their NIN, which confirms that they're Nigerians. This act is being paid for by, this loan scheme is being paid for by Nigeria, by Nigerian taxpayers, so it's for Nigerians, and the NIN helps to verify and qualify them as such. Their BVN, financial inclusion, because this act in itself or this scheme in itself will at some point be able to empower students. So we need to know they have bank accounts. We need to know where their accounts are and be able to access those accounts. It will also have their matric number or admission number so that we can firmly establish which institution they're going, because one of the key elements of this is that once we've received applications and those applications are approved, the fees or the tuition requirements in terms of financials will be transferred directly to the institution. That in itself has benefits for the institution. Many, many students are struggling to pay their fees. Their parents are struggling to pay their fees. There's a very high dropout rate. So it's one thing to get into the institution, the tertiary institution. It's another thing to stay there for 4 years or for 3 years. This scheme seeks to help people access and remain until they qualify or graduate. So it's a great scheme, and it is every Nigerian is able to apply, and clearly, the sifting is that we're going to be looking to support those who are most needy in the first instance. But in any event, education across the board is something that everybody should have a right to. Thank you.
The essence of education tax is to consolidate and restore education integrity and quality in Nigeria. And in fulfilling that part of the art, so that is why Education Tax Fund is one of the sources of funding by God's grace that we will use actually to propel and execute this laudable program. Thank you very much.